There's a blue background with faint grid lines that look like the canvas for a technical drawing, like a blueprint. The word access in all caps, white, twice. One access is made of a dotted outline. The other is solid text with arrows around some of the letters, suggesting future edits or movement. Tools for Access Design, An Introduction to Access Ecologies, July 13th, 2023. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Tools for Access Design, An Introduction to Access Ecologies. This event is part of a series called Access, offered by Creatives Rebuild New York. Hello to those in the Zoom space right now, and hello to the time shifters of the future who are watching this recording later on. Welcome. My name is Kevin Gotkin. I am an artist organizer with CRNY. I am a scruffy white person. I have a leopard print shirt on, some gold jewelry, and I'm in a very small space with wood paneling, and there's a bright light that's coming from above, so it kind of it casts shadows on my eyes, which is kind of pleasing to me because it kind of makes me look like I'm wearing eyeliner and maybe like dark eyeshadow. But my eyes are kind of dark, and then the rest of my face is like brightly lit, including an oily forehead. I'm coming to you from the traditional territory of Lenape-Hoking, so-called New York City, which is and has been the site of multiple indigenous movements. Let's access the access for this Access series. For the next few minutes, we will settle into this space. Then I will share a slide deck I've prepared for you about the notion of access ecologies. After that, I will invite you to contribute your expertise and questions, and then we'll depart. In the chat right now, I am dropping a link to our participation guide. This is where you can find more detailed information about each of the access features we are activating during this session. Now let me introduce you to the team of iconic, legendary, fabulous access workers who are collaborating with me to hold this space for you all. You've already met Irene, who is working. Our ASL interpreters today are Liang and AV. They are deaf interpreters. I'm excited that we're offering this form of access today because deaf interpretation features a higher level of cultural and linguistic detail in ASL. Our interpreters will switch off in their spotlights. If you need multi-pin access for those in the Zoom space right now, let us know. Our captioner today is Jane. You can toggle the captions on and off from the bottom of your Zoom window. You can also find the stream text link for browser-based captions, including Spanish captions, in the participation guide. Our audio describer today is Madison Zalopani, and I will turn it over to her to introduce herself.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm so pleased to be here. As mentioned, my name is Madison Zalopani. My pronouns are she or they. I have opted to turn off my video today, and in place of my image is the audio description logo, which is two letters, A and D, both capital and white, with three curved lines following the curve of the D on a black background. I will interrupt to describe visual content and to read out through the chat.
Yes, this is Kevin speaking. Yes, so if it works for you, use the chat. But as Madison said, we will read the messages there. So if the pace picks up, we may ask for a pause so we can all catch up. Our access doula today is ASEF, and I will turn it over to them for an introduction.
Hello, everyone. This is Seth. I'm waving my hand if that helps you to locate me. I'm speaking to you from Kashaya territory in Northern California. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a light-skinned Black person with long braids falling from under a mustard-colored hat. I'm wearing gold facial jewelry, a green pullover, sitting in the center of the frame between small windows in cool early morning light. As the Access doula today, my role is to monitor the flow of the event, to manage technical features in Zoom as needed, and to be available for one-on-one support to help make sure that your access needs are met. And my job is to make sure that the container we are sharing is working for you. End thought.
This is Kevin speaking. We will also be offering notation artistry from this session by Jez Chung. Jez will be turning this session into a visual map that we will include in the follow-up materials. And last for the Access team is me, and I will facilitate this event. I will keep track of time, and I will make any changes to the Zoom configuration as necessary. If you feel unsafe at any time, please contact us immediately. If we are collectively unsafe, we may abruptly end this meeting and reconstitute the session with a new Zoom link in the participation guide. I invite you to disrespect etiquette to enhance your access, to bring your most exquisite self to this space, to stim and move and engage as you need. And to let me know if there is anything the facilitation team can do to support you. So let's take a pause. You might surface a sensation in your body-mind, follow your breath for a second, or come deeper into the awareness of your surrounding right now.
A title card, a white background with black text with magenta shadows, reads, An Introduction to Access Ecologies. Arrows zigzag, dash, scurry, and curve towards a fury of notes surrounding the text, as if this were a first draft where the author left themselves notes. The full text becomes not an introduction, not in the classroom sense, but like being introduced to someone maybe you met a while back, actually, question mark, to access a focus of concern, ecologies, that someone you already met. Amongst the words is a floating image of Kevin.
And this is Kevin. Here we go. I'm going to drop the link to this slide deck in the chat right now, if you'd like to follow along. There are also links in here if you'd like to follow those. Overall, the goal of this session is to invite you to join me in thinking about the term access ecologies, which I find myself using a lot. I want to stress that I am trying to introduce myself to this as well, and I'm interested in subverting the usual ways slide tied to the next when I'll invite your contributions and questions. I also want to acknowledge that because this session is designed around a term or a concept, I likely won't be using plain language. I don't think I'll be using academic language either, but there is nonetheless a certain imprint of the ways that I have been taught that I'm passing along here. My choice of the word imprint is an example. The last session in this series is about plain language on August 1st. And right now, I just want to name my excitement about collectivizing or working with others to make what we're doing here more widely available, especially to those with intellectual and developmental disabilities who have been persistently excluded from CRNY's programs.
Second slide, black text on white background featuring two definitions. At the top reads ecology, the interrelationship between any system and its environment, the product of this, OED's extended use definition, parentheses 1C. The second definition says access ecology. This word is tilted slightly, leading up to the right. That, with a curvy arrow leading to the definition of ecology, but with the attention to accessibility, especially as it comes from the unique knowledge that is disability.
This is Kevin speaking. And so an ecology is about an environment. An access ecology is no different from an ecology, except that we are bringing a specific set of concerns with us, namely the knowledge we hold from our experiences of ableism. So certain access features might come up regularly when we use this term: ASL, captions, description. But just like all body minds have access needs, all features of an ecology can also be understood as part of our access ecologies. To say it another way, the only difference between an ecology and an access ecology is our focus.
White background, black text. Title, Why Ecology? Bullet point, always in one ancestral truths. Zigzaggy arrow, check the last slide. Bullet point, starting anywhere is access. Bullet point, land sovereignty at body sovereignty. Bullet point, ableism is about deciding to not know what you know. Bullet point, compliance is tired, an arrow leading down to the text, a complicated downside of the success of disability rights.
This is Kevin. So what we are talking about, maybe with language that seems new, is quite old. And many people have written about this. We are always in an access ecology. I might even propose that the wisdom we get from our ancestors, when we can get it, is about access ecologies. How to stay safe, where to go to take care of ourselves, how to accept care, how to give it. This means that if we want to study an access ecology, we can start anywhere. In the oldest senses of the word ecology, the ology has meant a kind of study. And I love a definition of study from Fred Moten and Stefano Harnese, that study is what you do with other people. So that means any time we're with others is a chance to learn something about ecologies. This is the kind of feeling about access that I hope we're building in this series called Access. A key benefit of access ecologies is that they lead us to the land, literally, naturally. So you might just pause to think about some sacred elements right now: air, water, fire, which might be electricity in some form, earth, maybe the surfaces that are supporting you right now. When we look at the points of contact between our bodies and these elements, we are met with the legacies of colonialism. Air quality, as a direct result of so many choices to care more about profit than the precarious conditions of life itself, for example. We find that land sovereignty and body sovereignty are often the same. That indigenous movement organizing is already disability justice organizing. I have turned to access ecologies because I have studied the maintenance of ableism for many years. I wrote a whole dissertation about it, in fact, and have discovered that ableism cannot be fully understood as a set of individual choices. And we usually encounter it as such when you are in a city center at like a coffee shop and you see a sign that says, you know, we won't tolerate racism, misogyny, ableism, even when there's like an inaccessible entrance. So usually ableism is like, an ableism is something you make and then you get reprimanded for it or something. But ableism is a system that teaches us how to deny what we already know. For example, I was struck by how few people were wearing masks when the air quality index shot way up. And we're not even talking about masking as a care for those who are most isolated during an ongoing pandemic. Access ecologies can guide us into a kind of mindfulness practice of our relationship to surroundings that could undo the alienation of ableism. I also think access ecologies are a move away from the fear and anxiety that we often hold when accessibility is understood as a matter of legal and regulatory compliance.
Black text on white background, title, Slowing. Slowing is tilting upwards towards the right. Bullet point. Our villains can't keep being the air. Dash, thank you, Minister Janae Bates, who is teaching this. Teaching this is a hyperlink. Bullet point. Ecological complexity tempts the colonial imagination. Floating Kevin has now moved to the bottom right.
So to talk about maybe some limits or possible risks of this concept of access ecologies, I want to name something I'm learning from Minister Janae Bates about consistently referring to ableism as a problem of a big system can make it hard to bring people into our work. So when air quality is awful, capitalism's effects are literally in the air. But there are also specific villains we must defeat for our work to be successful. And Minister Bates is doing that work in Minnesota, absolutely killing it. So I'd like to name some villains right now, actually, and I'm going to talk about violence that might be distressing, and I'll probably get a little angry in this section. So just to give you a heads up and make sure that you have a moment to take care of yourself if you need that. The owners, operators, and landlords of centers, healthcare, nursing homes are villains. They have denied basic decency to their staffs, leading directly to the death, neglect, and humiliation of disabled people. They have stolen over $83 million of public funds. And one of the villains, Kenneth Rosenberg, used this money to buy a stake in an airline for his son. These are toxic ecologies in these care facilities that should never exist. And I name this to resist the way that talking about ecologies can make us think about big, big systems that don't seem local to us in ways that could then defer and delay our obligations to action. And in a related point, when we stress the beautiful complexity of access ecologies, we might be inducing imaginations about interventions or placemaking, as it's sometimes called in the nonprofit art worlds, that continue to deny and subvert the traditional stewards of our ecologies.
A grouping of images placed haphazardly on a page, all related to cripping the beach. Moving left to right. Top left image is a person seen at a distance, covered in a blue tarp, standing on a beach in front of calm waters and an overcast sky.
Hi, can you please slow down for interpretation, Madison?
In Vega Baja/CRNY Island, 2021, by Kevin Gotkin. Below this, bottom left, is lavender text on a sand-colored background that reads Crip 1, I owe you a day at the beach and a joke. The text below the image reads Day by Park MacArthur with Paula Stutman and Jason Harada. In the top middle is a moody grayscale photo of an empty beach. Water droplets dot the camera lens. Middle, two people lounge under an umbrella on a crowded beach. The person in the foreground sits in a beach wheelchair with giant plastic wheels. Bottom middle is a bird's eye view that Kevin is currently in front of, but it is a person utilizing an accessible pathway from the sand to the ocean. The person reclines backwards in their wheelchair with their arms reaching up to the sky. On the right is a poster with a blue-gray background and lilac frame, featuring a multicolored logo of blobby organic rectangles pressed and squeezed together with messy white text that reads, Crip Pride Beach Day. The title is followed with information about the event in small text underneath.
This is Kevin, and since my head is kind of in the water of one of these beach images, I'm just kind of like swimming. I'm just imagining myself there right now. So what is the usefulness of access ecologies? How does it teach us something we need to know? I wanted to select something that we could treat as an access ecology, especially an ecology that shows us the relationships between access and artistry, since many here are working in worlds of art and culture. And I was deciding between the gallery as an access ecology, the air, the bed, and I decided on the beach. So slide 5 has several works and links to some ways of understanding the beach as an access ecology. So these are here for you to explore.
For more, titled Medicine Stories, Essays from Radicals, 2019 by Aurora Levins Morales. Crip Ecologies, 2018 and 2022 by R.A. Walden. Disability and Climate Change, a Public Archive. Crip Ecologies, Vulnerable Bodies in a Toxic Landscape. Curated by Amanda Kachia, Tangled Arts and Art Gallery of Windsor. Indigenous people with disabilities are the front lines of the climate crisis by Jen Deerenwater, Truth Out, October 2021. Crip Ecologies, Changing Orientation by Petra Coopers, Poetry Magazine, January 2022. Crip Ecologies, Complicate the Conversation to Reclaim Power by Naomi Ortiz, Poetry Magazine, February 2022.
This is Kevin, and I'm going to stop the slides, and we're back now to the conventional Zoom interface, the look. The slides, I'll drop the link again here in the chat. Those are for you to explore, and also for you to leave a comment if you'd like to add to. And now I'd like to invite others into this consideration of access ecologies. I want to recognize many forms of expertise we have in this space, especially the disabled artists and organizers who are with us. So the first prompt is, what do you want to contribute here? And thought.
Oh, unmute, my bad. Kevin, you can hear me? My bad. I didn't mean to I had the button unmuted. You can hear me?
Yeah, we gotcha.
All right, cool. No, I just want to contribute just like my energy. You know, I appreciate how you came on here and you spoke really well. I could hear the passion in your voice. About the nursing home thing, I actually experienced that personally. Because my grandmother was in there 2020, 2021. And just like you said, like it's a lot of people in this world that don't have a lot of compassion, lack of empathy. But it's people like you that's going to change that. You know what I mean? And people like me. I'm an artist in the program. My name is Jesse Daniels. From the Jesse Daniels story, you guys should check it out on Google. You know, I got to throw myself out there. You know, Cal. You know, got to put it out there. You know what I mean? I got to. Nah, yeah. I think for me personally, I think artists or creative thinkers or great people like you, it's a very small percentage of us that are able to express ourselves outside the quote unquote the matrix, you know? So we gotta kind of stick together and approach every situation with love. You know, I'm a basketball player, you know, from Harlem. You know, I was out there battling in the trenches, you know, but don't every day my grandmother used to tell me, you know, put love in your heart. No matter how many people you beat, you still love them, you know? And as I got older and meetings started to ramp up and real world issues started to ramp up, the only thing I can turn to is love, because hate is not the answer. You know, anger is not the answer. So, you know, I'm just here to contribute love. You know what I mean? And thank you for giving me this platform right now to speak, man. Chop that up, put that on the gram. You know. Well, other than that, thank you so much. That's me.
This is Kevin. Thank you, Jesse. I'm a big fan. So thanks for offering that. Deeply felt. Thank you.
Kevin, we also have a couple of intros in the chat. We have Michelle that says, "Hi everyone, I'm Michelle, a Brooklyn-based disabled artist and researcher. Absolutely thrilled to be sharing this digital space with you all." And then we also had Jesse It's Jessie Daniels from Jessie Daniels Story here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is Kevin again, and I'm just noticing how many amazing disabled artists and organizers are and teachers are in this Zoom space right now, and I don't want to, if you're trying not to be in the recording, I don't want to just like shout you out, but I'm moved by that, and some of their work is in our slide deck, and yeah, this could also be a moment for folks to contribute any works or shows or texts that I'll compile as part of our follow-up materials. So feel free to shout out your work. Or you could tell me that it's okay for me to shout out your work, because I would love to do that.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
My name is Maria da Conceição. It's Conceição. And my contribution is my 30 years of artwork. Also, I am very worried with a lot of things that you just said. For example, the pollution in the world. So I am starting something like Gestoria para Vitória, which is, for example, 1 month ago, I sent a box of fashion to Brazil to be distributed to poor people over there, because fashion industry is one of industry who pollute a lot. So this is me and my art behind me. And I am so happy I meet you in person at the Lincoln Center. And I will be there again.
You said in front of
Love
a grouping of still life paintings, including flowers in a vase, and a table set with a tea kettle and vegetables.
This is Kevin. Maria, thank you. I'm connecting our moment of dancing together with you on Zoom now, and crossing those spaces is sometimes so weird, but I'm so glad to be in space with you. And I will tell folks about the next event that you mentioned in just a little bit. So thanks for that contribution, Maria. And I'm noticing a hand from Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Watts-Belser. I am a disabled activist and scholar and professor at Georgetown. Kevin lifted up earlier in the slide deck the Disability and Climate Change Public Archive project that I direct. So I'll drop the link to that in the chat in case someone is interested. But I wanted to share, Kevin, one of the things that really resonated with me from what you were talking about with Access Ecologies, which is the sense of how lived experience of disability can deepen our thinking and attention, or I don't know, like the shivers of what we know about land and place. So I myself, I'm a white woman with short curly brown hair, wearing a Jewish head covering, and I'm a wheelchair user. And being a wheelchair user really shapes intimately my relationship with the ground. Whether I'm rolling over a sidewalk or on a dirt path or over tree roots, like every element of the land shivers up through the frame of my wheelchair, the wheelchair wheels, into my bones and my body. And when I think about disability and ecology, that's one of the images that is really, that felt knowledge is really crucial to me. It feels like a different way of thinking about interdependence and interconnection, which in disability community, I feel like we often name that in terms of human connections, which I love and value, but here also feels like a way to kind of dip into the lived experience of knowing ourselves to be really intimately related with the ground. So thanks.
This is Kevin. Thank you, Julia. I just want to name when I was in grad school, reading your work really opened things up. Especially, I'm not maybe going to read the title because I am trying to commit to plainer language. Because we've been working with someone that will join us in the last event in the series, who we met through the Disability and Climate Change Archive project. Their name is Reed Kaplan. So anyway, the name of this article that really was one of the things that changed my life was about understanding things we usually think of as inert, dead, just like matter things, as being alive and being with us and part of us. And I think that is a really vital part of and vibrant part of access ecologies. And I think that your work and what you just contributed is it really changed my life. That's what I want to say. So I'll put that article and some other things in our follow-up materials. And thanks for joining us, Julia.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I'll drop you a note about a plainer version of that material that you might want to share with folks. Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Kevin, we have a few contributions in the chat, if I may. Marike reads, in June, I co-facilitated a 2-day workshop at the Art University in Berlin on autobiographical storytelling. They prepared lots of different exercises and inputs, but in the end, we spent hours with the introduction exercises, and this was mostly the content of the seminar in the end. This makes me realize how important it is to have space and time to really introduce ourselves to others. Jesse writes, yes, Kevin, shout out the Jesse Daniels story, y'all the best. Julia added a link to disability climate change. Tarana reads, every element of the land shivers up through my wheelchair and my body. Beautiful description, Julia.
This is Kevin, and Jesse also dropped a link to a Vimeo. The Jesse Daniels story link is there. We have 3 minutes remaining. I should note our access features are available for 15 minutes after the hour. In case we go over, if you need and want some time to transition off this Zoom call, you can hang. But I also want to end at the time we said we would end. So why don't we end here? I had another prompt for folks who might feel like this material or this concept or what we're talking about in general terms is very new to you. And that was just to invite you to share your questions, because we could kind of create a little dialogue in the comments on the participation guide or in the slide deck. So if you are here because you are starting a commitment to access in your work, it's wonderful that you are here. And I want to make sure that if things are not clear to you, that you have a chance to to ask questions and to generate questions. They might not be questions that are easily answered. So please, you could share those in the chat. You could add them as comments. You could email them to me in one of the threads about the details for this event. Please, if you feel lost at all, I want to make sure that we can continue to talk. I also want your feedback, just like on how this event has gone. So I will prompt you for that in our follow-up materials. And feedback is weird and it often feels like work, and I just want to announce that. And also, if you have one of those mornings where you're like, sure, I'll describe how this was for me and I have a moment, it is really deeply felt, and I will put that into a collection of notes about that are kind of evaluating this series as we go along, and we're making small changes as we go along. There'll be a wonderful new change in our next event, for example, to have a low stimulation breakout room, for example. So feedback, really eager for it. It is very deeply felt. Our next event in this series is next week on the 21st. Just want to make sure I don't mess this up. Yep, a week from tomorrow. And we will be looking at methods for artistic production that use disability. So that's maybe a bit more about artists than maybe organizers or administrators, but everyone is welcome. And then we have one more event in this series on August 1st about plain language. So please join us for that moment. Also, I am curating a series at Lincoln Center, as Maria mentioned. The title of that series is Cultivating Access Ecologies. And we have one more event at Lincoln Center and in remote space, which is a party. And I actually have this water bottle that they gave to me. It's a white water bottle, and there's purple text that says Lincoln Center's Summer for the City. And then there's in Sharpie, someone wrote my name. So on July 27th, that's a Thursday, we will be having a party. If you are in New York City, you can come to Lincoln Center. It's outdoors. It will be a masked up space. We will have Nico DeMarco, an amazing deaf DJ, who will be performing. Cyrus Marcus Ware, a disabled organizer and artist, will also be performing. Jerome Ellis will be performing and will be partying. So please come through. There's also a virtual world that was built for that event, for that series. And also we'll have a live stream. So there's several ways we will intentionally connect our remote spaces in that party series, because that's the access ecology way to go. And that's on July 27th, Thursday, July 27th. We're running over time, so I am going to thank you all for being here and thank our amazing access team. And if you want to hang here, I think we should continue to read and if you need other access features, let's continue. But I want to make sure that if you need to go, you don't feel like you have to leave in the middle of something. So thank you for being here. Thank you all. And I hope to see many of you next week for our next event in this series.